All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order, this second budget workshop, and I would seek an affirmation of the agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Second that.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. All right, Ms. Fleming, if you would, put you on the hot seat first. I know you've got some information for us. I did have one question for clarification. I know some people that asked. We have different funds, different monies and different accounts. Just for the information of those listening or those here, can you kind of share with us where we can use money from for salaries and where we cannot, and the difference in these accounts and the monies?
Sure. So we have our operating expenses, our operating fund. That is where the majority of all of our expenditures are taken from. That's where all of our salaries, fringe, benefit, all that is coming out of our operating expenses. Now we do have bond funds. We issue bonds typically once a year with any money that we can, our 8% money. Those bond funds, though, are designated for whatever we deem necessary when we issue the bond. We can only use those bond funds to purchase things that we note in the bond. Those cannot be used for operating expenses. So they cannot be used for salaries. They cannot be used for any kind of expenditure that the district takes on. Only what is designated in that bond with those funds. So I know it kind of gets cloudy that you hear, well, we're going to get some new signs, or we're going to get some new paint, or our track was resurfaced. Those are funds that we issue specific for those reasons in our capital project funds.
That's right. Those funds are designated and they have a purpose and can't be drawn from for salaries and other things.
Correct, correct. They cannot be pulled back into our operating expenses.
Okay.
So I have before you tonight a brief budget overview for the 27 year. I have totaled our revenue that we are projected to receive next year on the state side and the local side. You'll see that kind of broken down, our local revenue and our state aid classroom, which is our state funding. And then I also have our expenditures listed. Those totals were derived from our meetings with the principals. That also includes our maintenance, our overhead fees for electricity, utilities, things of that nature. And then also I have our salary and fringe line down there that is totaled. Included in that salary and fringe line is just a brief look if we were to give every step on our current salary schedules a $2,000 increase and give everybody a step on their appropriate scale.
That's on the salary they're talking about?
That is on the salary and
Salaries,
fringe line.
Okay.
So those expenditures would entail $2,000 for every sale and a step increase for all employees. As you can see, our total expenditures will exceed our projected revenue at this point. So you need to kind of look at some ways that we might can offset that deficit. We do have a few things that we talked about last week we can go into some further discussion about. If we need to, that is taken into consideration the no additional revenue that we will receive from Fuji, Eaton, and Velux, as well as Ascend. General 3% contract increases. These expenditures include for on like our Bud Group, our Duke Energy costs, anything that we can't control. You know, those are expenditures that we have to account for. As I presented to y'all last week, these are not recommendations. These are just some overall information for y'all's reading. If we were to only increase the sales necessary to meet the state minimum on our teacher scales, we could see a projected savings of about $300,000. We could also reallocate some of our CAPE funds that we will be receiving this year. This year, we will receive $250,000 in CAPE funds is what the projection is saying. We could reallocate up to $200,000 of those funds, to help offset our general fund, and that would include paying for 2 teacher salaries out of our CAPE funding. We are still projecting to receive some revenue from Tajin. How much revenue, we do not know yet. The county has not got final numbers from Tajin, as well as ES Foundries. ES Foundries, this is the first year that they will be, 2025 is the first year that they will be coming on the books with the Department of Revenue. As of today, the Department of Revenue still did not have their filing for 2025. So therefore, we have no idea what our projection will be for ES Foundries moving forward into next year. I've been in constant communication with Stephanie at the county. She will give us some updates as soon as she can, but she can't make them issue their filings to the Department of Revenue. So we're just kind of waiting on them to issue the filings so she can give us a projection number. I know last year when they initially came on board and started in their production, she was potentially seeing that we would receive about $200,000 from them. However, she did clarify with us that they have not been expanding as quickly as they had hoped to. So, don't know exactly if that $200,000 number that she provided to us last year is feasible at this point, since they have not seen rapid growth like they thought they would. We do have a 501 fund, which is a fund that was set up in the district many years ago, that if we had excess revenue at the end of the year, we could move some of our revenue into a capital projects fund that the district created. Currently, we have about $1.7 million in that capital project fund. Now, that is not bond funds. That is funds that the district has been good stewards of over the years, and instead of putting in fund balance possibly at the end of the year, we moved it to a capital projects fund at the end of the year. Those funds are different, and they can be moved back into operating funds if we see the need to make that happen. So we do have currently around $1.7 million sitting in there. We also have, as Darren mentioned earlier, our bond funds. We have about $800,000 right now in bond funds that is designated for certain projects that we're working on. We cannot touch those funds.
I've served on boards before, and we always like to call that our rainy day fund. And that's really kind of what that 501 is.
Correct. It's
extra funds put away for a rainy day when things are not looking like you had thought they were gonna look. It is something that the board can approve to draw from, and that's one of our options that we can look at, to pull from there to help offset some of this loss.
And I will also just mention too that we do not have to make a motion or anything to pull from those funds at this point. We could wait and do that closer to the end of the fiscal year next year, when we see exactly what we would need to balance at the end of the year next year.
But we just have the comfort of knowing that it's there.
Correct. We would have to, whenever we get into our first budget reading, second budget reading, we would have to have that itemized out, that we know that we would have to make that transfer to present a balanced budget at the beginning of the year. But the exact amount, we would not have to make the motion and transfer those funds until as we get closer to the end of next year and see exactly what we would need.
Well, and that's what we're doing this year too with the fund balance,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And we don't have any idea when the state's gonna give our final numbers, do we?
We do not, and that is another little concern for
Yeah.
me. These numbers, of course, are based on our 45-day count.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, our count has decreased. Our 135-day count, we certified and submitted to the State Department today. I was in Columbia today for a meeting. They are hoping to get 135-day adjustments and some projections by mid-May is what they are telling us. These projections are also based on the Senate version of the budget that has been passed. The House version, they have adopted their budget, but it was $30 million less than what the Senate passed. So now they have to go back to committee and kind of do some negotiations and see what's gonna happen. But you just don't know if these numbers are probably will not hold out when the two get back together and reconvene.
They typically don't do
They
that.
typically do not.
Appreciate it.
Well, let me ask another question. What is the difference, if any, of drawing from the 501 versus drawing from the fund balance?
Fund balance, we do have board policy that we have to maintain a 25% threshold of our expenditures. As you know, this year with us having to potentially withdraw 1.4 from our fund balance to cover this year, that would put us right at the threshold of where we need to be
With the 1.4.
with the 1.4 gone. Because as you can see, our expenditures are a little over 18 million, so 25% of that. If we have to take the 1.4 to balance us this year, we will be at our threshold per board policy. So if we could pull from a different source instead of our fund balance, I think that would be better than hitting our fund balance 2 years in a row.
I think too, the state's looks at, obviously checks all this out, but they start looking at how our stability is, the physical stability that we have. And then we get rated at some point in time, and we've gotta be careful that we can continue not to show any vulnerabilities in any of these spots. So I think that means we're strong in all areas, and we do have the capacity to do something different and to keep it where we need to be.
Correct. We have
During
to,
those percentages.
yeah, we have to report our fund balance to the state every month, so they are monitoring that. The state requires just a 1 month of expenditures to be in your fund balance, but, you know, our board policy is 25%, but we do have to report our fund balance to the state every month.
So if we were to, if we were to drop down below what the state requires, they would deem us insufficient, I'm assuming?
Possibly, could be on fiscal watch.
I mean, they could,
They could.
and then they could make us consolidate, which is not what anybody wants to hear, but that's the truth. So,
So you want that cushion in the fund balance? It just looks better for starters.
I said the C word, don't nobody wanna hear that.
That is true.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at our student numbers and with information that Dr. Taylor provided to us earlier this week after the board meeting last week. You know, if it wasn't for our out-of-district kids, we really would be in a mess. So we appreciate everybody that's in our district,
We do.
so.
So because of our numbers dropping student-related, how does that impact our faculty? Or does it, or has it?
This year, we are absorbing 6 FTEs in our budget. Over the past years, I'm not sure of an exact number that we have eliminated positions, but I do know moving forward in the 26, 27 years, we are reducing our FTEs by 6 across the district. Some of that is due to our declining enrollment, and it's just having the need to refill those positions based on enrollment numbers.
And then the other question I have is, retirees, how many, was it 15 that we have?
Approximately 15, yes ma'am.
And do you know if they are in like the critical need area positions?
All of our retirees are in a critical need.
Okay.
They all meet the criteria to have the retiree assurance form submitted to the state, so they are not under the cap as a retiree because of the content area that they teach.
All right, so with the $1.4 million deficit, obviously you would love to bring that back to even and not eat any of it. Is there a number that we'd be willing to pull from the fund balance? I guess a couple 100,000, is there a number that we need to get to? Obviously, if getting back to even is unattainable, I mean, is that a fair question to ask, or is that?
I think it is a fair question. I think looking at the fund balance and looking at the 25% threshold, I personally don't think if we had to pull out of fund balance, you would wanna pull more than 300,000 out of fund balance.
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, out of fund balance.
And that is that the 1 point?
That's not the 1.7.
That's not the one, okay, that's the 501.
That's the 501 fund. Again, that 1.4 deficit, I feel pretty confident that we can make up 700 of that with the TASIM money and the reallocation of the CTE money. So we're looking at about a $700,000 deficit. If the numbers stay like the projections are saying.
Could be better, could be worse.
Could be better, could be worse.
But you still, even if you go into it with the mindset that you're gonna have that 700, you can still pull 700 from the 501. You can make ends meet. You're not pulling anything from the fund balance. We're giving all bonuses, all salaries are staying the same,
$2,000 to every sale and a step increase for all employees.
and all rehires stay where they're at.
Correct.
And we just pull from that rainy day fund, and we're a year or two away from some reevaluations with the state.
Hopefully a year, hopefully going into the 27-28 is when the Department of Revenue will reassess with our tax revenue that is decreased due to our industry, and they will kick in and start paying some because of Ascend and Fuji closing that first year. So it's usually a 2-year lag, so it should kick in 27-28, hopefully, with those values increasing. And I will say, I think we've done a very good job over the last several years taking care of our employees, providing the raises.
Yes, ma'am.
Even when we did not have to, we did. If we continue that now, I think we're okay for 1 more year. Moving forward, I don't know that that would be sustainable. We're gonna have to make some changes.
But our teachers and faculty, staff, support staff, they work very hard.
They do.
And we want to be competitive with our salaries so we can keep our great teachers and our great staff and our great principals. I mean, we're very fortunate, and they do contribute greatly to not just the school district, but to the community. And it is, we feel very strongly that we want to take care of and protect them, yeah.
Yeah, I think we worked hard to raise them and get them up to where they, I'm not gonna say need to be, but in a better position than they were several years ago.
Yeah.
All right, I know we don't necessarily have to take action tonight.
We do not.
We're just discussing. But is everyone comfortable with following those guidelines, pulling possibly 700,000 from that 501 account that was set aside?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's better than taking it all out of our fund balance. But I'm gonna come across, and I hope I'm not coming across harsh, but, you know, we gotta make a decision on the longevity of our district. And at some point, we're really gonna have to look at the salaries that the retirees have. We gotta look at everything. Everything's gonna be on the table. And it's like, you know, and I've used this before, but, you know, if you have your own business and you don't have revenue coming in, you can't afford to give raises. And I'm all for giving what we can when we have it. But if we keep taking from our savings to give, we're not gonna have it, and then we're gonna be in trouble. And it may not be, you know, this year we've got enough to cover for the upcoming budget. And hopefully, if we have to draw from it again for the 27-28 school year, hopefully we've got it there. But what's gonna have to be realized is that if we don't have it, there's gonna be some changes made. And that's gonna affect a lot of our, could potentially affect the retirees. I mean, just being 100% honest.
And when you look at what they're currently making, I'm just saying this, versus a new graduate, you're saving thousands of dollars there.
Exactly.
I mean, and we're graduating a wonderful, ready-to-work class now.
Yeah.
In May, just saying. But those are things we have to consider. I mean, you're probably talking about $20,000 difference,
Yep.
I would think.
Yep.
From a new hire to a seasoned retiree who's already retired.
The fringe and benefits, probably about 40
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think another thing we have to look at too is, you know, a lot of folks are fussing about new housing, you know. We've got a potential of getting 300 new housing here in 96, and a lot of folks are against that. But I think that's something that's good for our community. Those folks are gonna buy in, and hopefully we'll get some industry in as well. But, you know, we've got to support that as well, because that's gonna be beneficial for our district. And if we keep pushing it out, then we're gonna continue to lose students, and that hurts.
And we have the capacity to absorb those students.
Exactly.
Definitely. We're wanting them.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
And we have the expertise
That's right.
to educate them. So,
And, you
yeah.
know, we've talked in the past, we've talked about we've got to do something with our primary school within the next few years.
Yeah.
So, you know, so, yeah.
You're right.
I just don't want us to get hung out.
Yeah,
That's-
me either.
That's all. You know, I just don't want us to, everything, and, you know, and of course, I've had emails, and I'm sure everybody else has, and, you know, we've lost our revenue from two big industries that have been a part of this community for years. And then we had, you know, we kind of put our eggs in one basket when those two closed with another industry that came, and then they gone without anything. So, and I understand that it's projected for us to get some funds from Tajin, but I guess my question is, if they decide not to pay anything to anybody, what's the repercussions for them not to do that? If they come in here and say, well, you know what, we don't have a dog in this fight, we can just walk away right now. I mean, it ain't like you can go repo it like you can if you don't pay on the car. It ain't like you can just go repo the money.
That's exactly,
So, you know, that's just things that we really gotta consider.
exactly.
I mean, hey, there's a chance that they may not pay anything. So,
And it's interesting that in that September board meeting that Andrew said that even then. He
Yeah.
said,
Yeah,
what if
he did.
Tajin doesn't go through? And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, where's that coming from? So you just don't know till it happens, and that makes it tough for decisions, but.
well, I'll say this, cause like I said before, I've been all for giving money to our employees and bonuses and raises when we can afford it. I will say that transferring money from the 501 from our capital funding account to help offset some of the fund balance that we're gonna have to draw makes me feel a lot better
Yeah.
than taking all of it from one place.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like at some point in the near future, we're really gonna have to look at what we're paying retirees versus new hires. And at some point, I'll just be honest with you, it would suit me if we only gave the individuals that qualified for the $2,000. It would suit me if we gave it to them now and not to everyone. But when and if we did get money from Tajin, maybe amend the budget to give that $2,000 to other employees that did not get it the first time. That would make me feel a lot better, but I'm not opposed to leaving everything as is with transferring the money over and then taking the rest out of the fund balance. So,
Well, one thing, this did sneak up on us. This was, not a mismanagement on anybody's part. It was just simply, things
It's
changed.
the perfect storm coming together.
Perfect
at
storm
one
comes
time.
together.
Kinda like snowing in '96.
It is. A lot of times you have to weather a storm for a year or two. Nobody knows what the future holds. I would like to think that by the time everything resets, get back on a more predictable budget like we have been in the past. But right now, it's unpredictable to a degree.
It is, yeah.
You do have neighboring districts, and you want to try to do what everybody else does. You want your employees to be treated like they would if they were anywhere else, and of course, we don't want to lose anyone. It is a little late in the school year to be making changes. I do feel a little guilty about that. If we do make changes next year, I feel like we'll have more of a head start to have a firmer game plan about how we want to make changes. I would hate to make changes in the 11th hour, you know, if they do have to be made. I feel like that would be a disservice to our employees.
And I will say too, even starting the beginning of next school year, I feel like we will have a better projection of what our numbers will be, because we will have more accurate numbers based off our 135-day count. Yes, typically, they will change between the 135 and the 45-day going into next year, but usually it's not as big a change as it is from the 135 to the 45. So, or I'm sorry, I said that backwards, from the 45 to the 135. So I feel like if we start beginning of the 26-27 school year going in, looking at attrition, looking at your retirees, looking at your revenues, that will give us lots more time to prepare and make any changes that we need to.
Well, and I commend the administration and maintenance and finance, everybody for managing like they have. I know y'all have cut where you can cut and have been good stewards of the money, and I feel like we're as streamlined as we can be for the time being. So I do appreciate that. I think David's done good with their end of it, and
Definitely.
I think we've done the principals, everyone included, has done an excellent job trying to control expenditures where they can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
As we all
Absolutely.
know, of course, staff and faculty is the bulk of your budget, but the rest of the expenditures, I think they've all done a really good job at trying to watch and conserve where they can.
Well, I think that goes back, Mr. Schofield, every decision with a teacher or somebody leaving, we've broken it down, we've looked at every angle, we've worked on it, talked to the principals. Can we live with them or without? And we've been doing that for months. So we've done that. And then I will say with David Roark and maintenance, is so expensive, the things that they deal with. They are very conservative in what they purchase, and then they try to fix it before they have to replace it, and the longevity of it. And so, and that's just two examples, but we have all tried to say, okay, how can we continue doing what we're doing and provide the service that we're providing with what's going on around us, that we have very little control over.
So I know we ain't got to vote on anything, but I think we all kind of in agreement. So
Yeah.
well, that's the thing. I
think
think
so.
everybody needs to be kind of on the same page, not have any, real opposition to anything that we're doing. I think given the nature of what we're dealing with, and this could just be a short-term storm possibly, and if it's not, if things are a little more difficult than we think, then I think we can reassess next year.
yeah.
But I think we can ride it out for this year and get a better feel for where we're gonna be next year. And if we have to ride it out again next year, we'll streamline it as much as we can. And
Go from there.
Yeah. That's all we do.
I think, we
Well, we
should
all
be grateful
again, yeah.
that there was the foresight there to put back some money.
I agree.
Exactly.
That's gonna, but that's what it was intended for.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we need to remember that
Yeah, we
whenever
gotta-
we come out of this. So,
Yeah.
Whenever we are able to
Yep,
put
we
back into
can.
that
That's right.
501, we need to try to do our best to do that.
Mhm. But thank you, Jennifer, for all you've done.
Yeah,
We appreciate it, yes.
And as I get updates, I'll be glad to share them when we get 135-day updates or House version updates, or I just wanted you to kind of be aware of what we're looking at right now and try to move forward.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
Can we?
Appreciate you.
That's good. I think we want to amend the agenda. Can we? And then we have correct?
Correct. Do you want,
All right. Not about you.
But didn't we just approve the agenda?
I guess we can amend it
Or the-
at any
the-
point.
Okay. All right.
What do we, all right. I'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda to include an item regarding personnel.
Make a motion, we amend the agenda to include personnel.
I'll second it.
Motion second, any questions, comments?
I think we can do that.
Yeah.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise?
Technically, we should have done it at the beginning, but
I'll explain this. I'll be quick, I promise. So, this is the addendum here. So, earlier today, and you know that all throughout the year, because of a grant that we got, we've been hiring HIT tutors all day long. But this is something, because it is a certified position for HIT tutor. This is a recommendation for employment as a HIT tutor. Earlier today, I have been meeting, this is what I've been doing all day long. We've got a couple of seniors that we need to drag across the finish line. And we are doing our last ditch case scenario of everything that we can do to get these kids to graduate. And so, as much as, and you'll see on the recommendation form of the voluntold position that is being recommended tonight for hire as a HIT tutor, that is going to meet with these two individuals, basically one-on-one, to do everything they can to get them caught up, because they need some help getting through their last English course. And so this candidate is certified in English, and recently, within the last week, because of their schedule, has gotten some free time, and has been asked to help out as much as possible. But I bring this to you tonight because it does require, because it is a certified individual, it does require board approval to hire this individual as a HIT tutor for the remainder of the 25-26 school year. So basically for the next 6 weeks. And they would work on, and they would be paid, I know we've done budget discussions, but they're paid out of the federal grant that we've gotten, actually the state grant that we've gotten for HIT tutors. So this is not something that comes out of general fund or any of our other funds. It is paid through the grant that we've already been paying HIT tutors from for the last 2 years. So I do need a recommendation and motion for hire, if y'all are so inclined, or if you have any questions before then.
I'll make a motion, we approve the candidate as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion is second, any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? We have approved Kim Schofield
It
to
is
be a 6-week HIT tutor.
HIT tutor. She's been voluntold to do so.
Appreciate that.
So, Later has freed her up to be able to do that for the next 6 weeks. So since her cheerleading, since the cheerleading has been, her season has completed, and so she is still certified, and she carries a certification, and so she is going to be working with these two
Good deal.
students at the high school to get them to be able to work across the state.
That's
Good.
huge.
Good
So,
deal.
Tell her thank you.
like I said, we're doing everything we can. I've been meeting with counselors and Mr. Sproul and the students themselves and parents to see what we can do to help this process. And so I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
doing that.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank y'all for being here.
Yep.
I make a motion with adjourn.
If there's no other business, entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion here second.
Second.
All in favor, stand up.
Thank you.
Good deal. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Oh, I need to text my folks to come get me.
Oh, there's your truck out there. Oh.
y'all need to be dealing
And
with
wrong.
nothing on the school board that's gonna conflict with